I know, so you and Mary can hear.
He is.
Pardon? Yeah, okay, we're now recording this, so I'll be posting this on YouTube for everyone that couldn't make it. And then, and just for, the official record, since Makiev is not going to be here, that none of the admins or mods here, you know, we're not an employee or representative of Makiev. So we are not actually speaking on their behalf or the program's behalf. It's just from our own experiences. So, person coming in? Okay.
Hey, John, could we ask everybody that's not actually talking to put their mic on mute?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Like just on the lower button, just if you're not talking, just mute. That will cut down on dogs barking, phone ringing, stuff like that. Speaking of which, I should just balance my phone. So, well, like I said, Makiev will not have a presence here. Jack had to pull out last minute. And he did say that some questions only Makiev can answer, and there's a few that only he can answer. But what they are going to be doing is provide written responses. So, and if there are any other new questions that are specifically for them, we'll forward it on to them, and it may become like a weekly event. So, so I posted in the chat room the FTM Q&A topics. I suppose for you new members, let me repost it one more time since I don't think you can see it. Since I posted it before you joined. There you go. Down at the bottom, if you click on the chat, you may have to click on the chat box to see it. So the first question was like, well, it would be nice to have an update on the delivery of the new user guide. That's a Makiev only question. How often should compacting be done? I suppose different people have different methodologies. I mean, I generally do it a couple times a day. I don't do it every time I sync, even though that is under the best sync practices in compacting down to 0. But like I said, it generally, you can never compact enough. I mean, the only bad thing might be is if you have a complete power failure mid compacting. And I mean, the odds of that are very, very remote. And likewise about the step about compacting with this extended analysis to 0 to be one step instead of multiple actions. Okay, that's going to be a Makiev only question. Same thing with the places and the maps.
Hey, John.
Yes.
This is John Smith. I had submitted that places question. Can I add an amendment to that? I'd like to suggest that Makiev put out a blank places tool with unlimited depth level. So that way, if a person wants to use Deutschland as the name of the country instead of Germany, they can. Or if they want to use Germany, they can. And if they want to use all 6 administrative units of Germany, they can. Different countries have different patterns. And then there's not a worry about trying to update it because countries change, places change, names change, and there's no way they can keep it up to date.
Yeah,
If they just make it blank, then the users can build their tree of places at whatever level they want.
yeah.
How about we finish up on compacting, then we can go to that.
Yeah.
Well, he had brought up started that one, Nancy, so that's why I brought up the question.
Okay.
Yeah, because, well, yeah, the compacting is basically can't do, the iPad 2, I'm muted. You're getting some type of a feedback. So if you want to talk, you have to unmute yourself. The compacting, like I said, you can't ever compact too often. Though, like I said, it's not something that you constantly have to do. And on the places I know, being able to edit and change stuff in the place database, that is and has been on the suggested innovations list for a while. Because there's typos in there. And I know a bunch of people from the UK and Australia are complaining about a lot of tones just aren't in there at all. Well, yeah, and that's the next one. So on there, the new features. There are some, and on the suggested innovations list, and I post that monthly or just about every month in all the various Facebook groups. There is a category about in progress, and those are items that should be in the next update. So you can refer to that list. I would actually have to look up about what has been officially announced on that. Same thing about why doesn't Tree Vault keep everything? I know at RootsTech, they were still debating on different pricing strategies. Because right now they only announce that one price of, I believe it's what, $1.99 a month or like $19.99 for a year. And that's like your base tree with just the profile photos. And they were talking about possibly offering more for a higher price, if you want like 10 gig of storage, basically you set up how much storage you want for the potential of doing it. If that comes to be, I don't know what has been decided. That's more like a McKeough question. But they are making improvements on Tree Vault. And how useful or practical has it proven to be? Well, for one, it did save me several hours of work once because I was actually working on Family Tree Maker. I'd probably been doing it for about 2 years. I hadn't synced with Ancestry. I was just on a roll entering stuff when my hard drive started to fail. But due to Tree Vault, because it's constantly backing up to the Tree Vault, after I replaced the drive, I backed up what data I could. I was able to restore my current tree, and then for the media, I was able to restore from a backup, and then the other media, then I only had like one picture that was missing, but that was also one I had recently added. So I was able to it was a picture that a cousin had emailed me. So I just went back to the email to get that photo. So
yeah, I found it very helpful and everything worked perfectly.
yeah. And then plus tree vault will not be just for that. The historical weather, which they're working on improving the language and stuff, so it's more usable, will be coming in, as well as the upcoming album walk, because that will make it a lot easier to tag people in photos. If they're in your tree, it'll make it a lot easier. It's kind of like on Ancestry when you type in, okay, attached to a person, you start typing the name, and but it'll actually be able to pull the names from the tree that's in your intended tree. So it's not just for using the FTM Connect app. Yeah, the one now about using historical events features. I guess, well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of, I don't know, I might need more info on that, because I mean, you can add events, but I guess you can't necessarily, I don't know, I haven't really played too much with it, so I don't know if it's all or nothing, or if you can specify, okay, I'm in South Dakota, so I only want to know events that happen in South Dakota for this person, rather than I don't care what happened over in Germany or England at this time, or even in New York.
Yeah, you can show just basically the facts that you have entered and do not show the historical world events.
Yeah, but can you specify the like local historical events?
No, it's sort of all or nothing, John. This is Terry. You sort of get, if you're using world events and you don't get rid of the stuff you don't want to see, then you get them all. There's not a way to, it could be, whoever posted that, I agree, that would be a useful feature to have more graceful editing of it and sort of controls.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so that would be a Makiev question then. Let's see. Basic capabilities such as search. Well, the search itself is extensive. I mean, typing in for the name index, that's kind of more specific. Because I need, because if you like just do the Control F to do a search, you know, that will search through everything, facts, notes, sources, everything. When you're in the name index, yes, that will only change, type up to where you got the name. But then if you type in something that doesn't exist, it won't do anything. And I know that is a change from like 2014, where if you typed in, if you're say looking for Adams and you typed in ADB, well, it would go to the item right before it, you know, like an ADA, whatever, ADA, ZZ, you know. Yeah, the upcoming update, that's the same thing. Same thing, except integrating Family Tree Maker with Family Search, Album Walk, FTM Connect. How do I change font sizes and notes? That's something I actually haven't played with.
Oh, that's easy.
Oh, I have.
Oh, yeah.
Joe, I'll let you take it.
Pardon?
I'll let you take it.
Oh, on person notes, correct?
Yeah, well, I think they'd just go with any type of notes.
Oh, well, I only use person notes.
Yeah.
But, let me see if I can share.
You can
Okay.
change it in fact notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you see my tree?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go up to my grandpa. If you go to notes, and then you view them with this little icon, then there's a slider here that you can make it as big or small as you want.
Well, that just changes the magnification. That doesn't actually change the font.
Well, no, it prints out the whatever size you've chosen or as default, but
It
at least
is
read it better.
effective.
But as far as overall, you only have the choice of extra large fonts, which I'm in, and it makes very little difference. I did put in a suggestion that we at least be able to use dark mode,
Yeah.
because that really makes it easier to read even the smaller print.
If I might, one of the issues is if you cut and copy from other sources and paste into your notes, you can get a mix of different font sizes. There's, as far as I can tell, there's no way to change that within FTM. You would need to cut that out and put it in another Word document, adjust the font sizes, and then paste it back in that note. Anybody have an input on how to change that?
If you highlight that note in your notes, you highlight that and then use the slider, that will often change it. But it depends on the source. If it comes from someplace like a website, they're fixed and usually can't be changed. But if you're copying and pasting from, say, an email, those can be changed.
Yeah, so, okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes I do wish there was a global change fonts, but, okay, the next question. And I see some people are posting questions. We're gonna just go through the first topics, which is, we're almost done. Then we'll go on to those questions people have asked. Well, this one's a bug about starting to work on repairs, fixes. I mean, they are working on it. There will be a new update. And then the others are basically suggestions. So, I mean, switch to simulate V16 or 2006. Handling of the last names, yeah, that can be handy, especially with Hispanic names. I helped a person on that where they've got the double surnames and can definitely save time. Assigning source media notes to a place. You can right now in a roundabout way. Russ Worthington told me about it, where you create a source and then you attach that source to those facts with that place. Because then you can attach media notes to that. It is kind of a roundabout way of doing it though. And then for clearing numerous hints, well, Ancestry would almost have to enable a feature like that, but. So that's all on the first Q&A topics. For the other questions coming in, well, I love color coding. I sometimes forget what the colors signified for taking genealogy vacation. Is there an internal labeling system? Yes, there is, and I can demonstrate it here. Let me just share. Should be seeing the Kennedy screen. So here Kennedy is marked red right here. And here you can just say, okay, see anyone with red here, it's their descendants of John F. Kennedy. So if you just put it there and it will highlight as to what that color signifies. Same thing here with the cyan. Okay, these are descendants of Robert Francis Kennedy.
Where'd you do that, John, though?
I just hover on the color itself and it pops up. So purple is, okay, the descendants of Edward Kennedy.
But I think the user is
That only-
asking, like, if I want to make blue military people, I don't think there's a way to say, maybe in a save filter.
Well, yeah, you could. What you do is you'd have to create like another filter. You know, say, so one would say like that has like a military fact. And this tree, I don't know, like military service, any data exists. And yeah, well, this tree doesn't. Well, here, let me just do, let me do this where
I was just going to say that.
sex equals female. So I'm going to apply it. I'm going to save this females. And then I'll just give it that magenta or pink color. So now you went on there, then it says, okay,
Oh,
this is under filter females.
I've never noticed that before. Whoever asked that
So-
question, thanks for asking it.
Yeah, the only thing that wouldn't be is if, say, you individually color code. So let me just put, just manually assign a color green there.
I have a little trouble understanding here.
Then this green just means, okay, it's just that. So, hold it. No, there I manually assigned the color. And then it would just say, well, it's just an individual color. So if you go through individually coloring stuff, then you're gonna have to create a task or a note or a sticky note as to what green means. But if you use like a filter and save it, then it will pop up, you know, like this, saying, okay, it's in filter females. So it does do it, as long as you don't do the individual colors, because then it's up to you as to how to rename it. And then the second part to that question was how do I use it? Well, me, I don't consider my color static, because I will periodically go through, well, when I use Family Book Creator, I generally do descendants books. And then, so then I like color coding each of the children. And then I had to get creative with my grandma's family, because she was the oldest of 11 kids and they've all got descendants. Well, we don't have 11 colors. So I had to create filters for all the descendants. And actually I had to create 2 filters for each of the descendants. And then I assigned the first color, so all females were pink, all boys were blue, and then I just started going through the rest of the colors. So, pink red is one person, pink orange is another, pink yellow, just like there's blue red, blue orange, blue yellow. You know, you get something kind of like this in a way. Like I said, this is just a test tree, so I don't have that setting up. Other things I do is, well, I do highlight my 4 grandparents' lines, because then that's very handy when you're down working on some of the cousins and you want to see who the common ancestor is. But then I've also got some extended branches in my family, like my niece's husband's family. Well, I color coded their entire line by starting with her husband and just said, you know, all ancestors and all their descendants. So then then save that filter. Well, or correction, I didn't do that color coding this way. What I did is I created a filter and did all their parents, spouses, and then all their descendants. Let me close out that one. And then I redid that filter, but then I said, okay, that's the Smith line, that's the Jones lines. And then especially since then, if you get certain surnames, you'll see a certain surname that maybe doesn't have a color or a certain color. Okay, this one's got purple. Okay, I know that's on my niece's husband's line. If it's pink, well, then that's on my uncle's wife's line. If it's blue, well, then that's on my aunt's husband's side, you know. So that's how I do it, as well as then any DNA matches, I flag them with the DNA markers fact. So, and then I color code that. So that's how I use it, but others will vary. So some people like, and usually if you do that, like I said, I really detest using the individual color coding, because then you have to unselect them all or rechange them. And like I said, then you have to remember what orange, what blue, purple means. Where right now it's, you don't have to. Does anyone else have any other ways they use color coding?
Yeah, I do. I use it for to create a filter for people I want to go back and work on. And then I know I can just change the filter to, or the index of people to that filter, and then work down the list. And of course, like John, I do the DNA match. And I do like that it automatically updates.
No.
I use it for DNA work. So I have my unattached people for my husband is orange, me for pink. This is where I'm trying to make connections. So, but I keep this kind of a legend in the tasks in the plan workspace. I also have green for my NADs and blue for my husband's. Just as kind of another example. And I just keep the a legend in my task space. I put it as low priority, so it's not in the way of the other stuff that I prioritize. Just another way to do it.
Yeah, I just suggest not getting carried away with trying to use a color code for everything.
Yeah, I agree. What I tried to do was when I was choosing, I chose colors for my mother's side, my father's side, just the traditional, you know, ancestors of. But I chose the groups of colors. Like I have the one for my mother's side does not include orange, it doesn't include pink, so that I have options for other colors to use for other purposes other than my ancestors of. So you have four sets of colors, and they don't all overlap. So that's just something to consider.
And do get used to using the filters.
Yeah.
If you've not yet used them, because those are wonderful. For various reasons.
I don't know how we lived without filters.
Yeah.
That is my favorite feature. That
Yeah.
is by and large my favorite feature, because I can do so much more with it now. So for example, I'm working on Civil War people in my tree. So I can filter for everyone that was born during that time frame would have been eligible to be fighting in Civil War. And then I can research them. Or I have another one, because I do have ancestors that were slave owners. So I have a filter by location. I have several that were slave owners in Pennsylvania. I have several. So I kind of was able to kind of branch out on the family a little bit to find those without hunting and losing my place in the tree.
Yeah,
Filters are amazing.
I found the filtering to be, like you said, Nancy, super tool.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
it's not difficult to learn. It really, really isn't. I know for those of you who haven't tried it yet, from what you've seen in the units or you see on here, it's like, it may seem confusing, but once you try it a few times, because you can always delete it. But once you try it a few times, you really start to get the hang of it. It's not as complicated as it looks at the outset. I promise.
Yeah, and in the user groups, there's always people here that can help you tweak your filters if you're trying to get certain things, especially when you start doing a compound filter where you have to filter in these people but filter out these, or it takes multiple criteria. And I mean, we can help you with that. So
Somebody had a very good explanation a week or so ago when someone was having trouble with those filtering in and out. They used the analogy of a bucket. Is you start with a big bucket of everyone you want in the pot, and then you take little scoopfuls out. Well, I don't want that type of person in the pot, so you scoop them out smaller. And if you think about that, it really helped me construct some compound filters quite easily once I thought about it that way.
yeah.
So thank you to, because I think it was one of the regulars that suggested that. So whoever it was, thank you.
Well,
Yeah.
like the example of my Civil War veterans that I'm working on, I was able to do, it's commonly referred to as layering. So I have a layer of males and then birth years. So all in the same filter. So that way I don't get all the females, so I really narrowed it down. So it really does help. Tremendous. My favorite feature.
Yeah, the one thing with filters to remember is if you're trying to do a search for people born in like 1930 or something, if they don't have a birth fact itself, they won't show up in the list. So I mean, that's just one of the little gotchas. Or even if you're looking for, say, people with a blank birth date, well, you can't just search for where the date's blank. You almost have to search for where birth fact does not actually exist. As well as then look at for, where they may have a birth fact, but no date, but, maybe they've got a location or something in the description, so there are little tricks on that. So, then from Bernie, wanted to sort index on hints. Yeah, that's gonna be more McKeel. I mean, you can display the hints on the index, but you can't sort by it. One of the nice things would be is if you could sort by a color too, which you can't. And then, what's this? You'd like to save media listed by category? Is like,
Yes, every time I go to the media tab, I select my media by category and I do whatever I'm doing. And then the next day I have to go in and select media by category.
oh, okay. You just like that to be the default.
For me, yes. I like to be able to select my default. That's a better way of saying it.
Okay, yeah, that would be something.
I agree.
Yeah, that would.
I agree.
Yeah, that would be a suggestion for McKeel. So
Actually, if you just remember where you were the last time when you closed it, would be nice.
sometimes,
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions in the chat and on there that we can answer. Is just open it up if anyone's got questions about anything. Just remember, most of you are muted, so if you want to talk, you have to unmute yourself.
I would like to thank all of you administrators for all you do. You're on every day. It seems like 24/7. I appreciate that and thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. Well, if
I have an issue. I have
Okay.
an issue that I'd like to bring up.
okay,
And I'm curious if anyone else has experienced this particular issue. I have many different trees because I do research for other individuals.
yeah,
And this particular issue only happens on one tree. When I create a fact, and when I'm creating the fact, if I use the URL to indicate where I found the document in the fact, what happens is I will put in the correct URL, save it, open it back up again, and the wrong URL is there.
Where are
Where are you, where are you
And-
putting the URL?
When you create a fact, when you create a source citation for the fact.
Okay, so you're putting it into the citation itself?
Correct. There's a placeholder
In
for
the-
that when you're creating a
The web link,
citation.
in a web link, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So, and the other thing it does, if you do not put one in and just leave it blank, it puts one in for you. And it's for a previously entered URL. Now I've notified can recreate the issue, and hopefully it will be repaired in the next update or whatever they come out with. But there just seems like there should be something else if it happens in one tree and not the others. It seems like there's something not working correctly in that particular tree.
yeah, that would be a McKeel question. Yeah, I haven't, but then I haven't done much with a bunch of like custom sources either. So, because I generally just do a merging from Ancestry, and then other than I've got like a standard source for like personal knowledge from various aunts, uncles, cousins, parents, grandparents, and whatnot.
Now, you mentioned that you merge a lot of your facts directly in from Family Tree Maker. My philosophy is that merging without verification, you have a lot of errors in your tree.
Well, but see, I always verify before I merge.
Okay, well, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
And I don't, and I'm talking like merging sources, like from a birth index or a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't merge other people's trees and stuff.
Yeah, correct. I understand that. Been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my rookie mistake about 9 years ago when I first started, and started with that 2-week ancestry subscription. And I thought, oh boy, this is great. Look, I can just start merging all this information in for people's trees. And
Sure.
then I started looking, and it's like, well, this person's got parents that were born like 100 years after they were, and they got kids that were born 200 years before they were. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, okay, message learned real quick, and I just dumped it, went back to the original tree that was given to me, because my mom's mom side of the tree, and started anew. So
I think that is the number one mistake that people new to family history make. I mean, you can see it on ancestry trees. You know, you can really tell when that people are doing that. It's a number one mistake. And we talk about that a lot in the users group. Verify everything. So, I mean, we're not just merging willy-nilly. For those of us that are more experienced, like you, John. So we're being careful. We're being careful. But
Well,
yeah, that's concerning about the URL issue. That's concerning. And it's interesting that's only happening on that one tree. So I'm still racking my brain on that one.
yeah.
I'm still thinking about that one.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Makiev has probably asked you to send them that tree and whatnot. So
Yeah, it's just a very strange issue, and
I wonder if
unfortunately I have a workaround since I know it, and I've realized this. There's a workaround that I do, and it solves the issue. But anyone else, it took me a while to realize that it was actually happening. So on this particular client's tree, I'm sure there's several URLs that are incorrect.
I wonder what would happen if you would export that file and then re-import the data into a new tree. It might leave behind some of the junk and possibly clear whatever is.
Yeah,
that URL.
I've actually done that, and doesn't solve the issue. Yeah, it's a strange one.
no. Yeah, one other question on that is opinion on size for your computer for memory and hard drive. Considering getting a new computer. Well, this is normal. It's like if at all possible, get one with a solid state drive. It is amazing the difference that solid state drive would give you. They're just so much faster. And then for memory, get as much memory as you can afford. It's like right now, I won't get one with less than 16 gig.
Yeah, this one, the one I'm using is an i7 computer with 32 megs.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah, I typically recommend people get like an i5 or an i7. And this is just general computer knowledge, because it's not so much about buying a computer for what you need today. It's what you're going to need a year or 2 years from now. So
yeah, for sure.
It's basically get the fastest and biggest computer you can afford. Because that's the best way to get life out of your computer.
Yeah. One, Gary mentioned the export. That did pop up another thing that I could try is just putting it into a different computer and see what happens there. Worth a try.
Yeah.
Anything's worth a try.
Yeah. For John, are you using 2019, right? For with the sources that you're having the issue with, your computer is like running Family Tree Maker 2019.
Yeah, if you're still with us, unmute yourself.
Yeah, no, he's not muted. Well, I was just saying, if by chance you happen to have the install file for 2017, you know, export your tree to 2017 format, just see if it exists there. I don't know, that's just a hunch, but like I said, that it happens just on one tree is very odd. So,
Yeah.
but
I'll try it and see what happens.
yeah. So, well, any other questions?
If I can go back to the font size
Sure.
again, not in the notes, but on the people tab, as far as the facts that are listed there. Is there a way to make that font larger in that section in the fact area? Now I run a Mac. It may be different. Maybe a PC has that option. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know the Mac doesn't have the, well, Bob, you run a Mac. Yeah, they don't have the use large fonts, but is there like a magnifier tool? I know the Windows does.
Not that I've noticed.
Windows has a magnifier tool. I use it a lot because I'm wearing trifocals and still can't see stuff. I have to use that a lot. Unfortunately, the use large fonts that is available in options in FTM, for most of us, it doesn't, there's nothing noticeable different. I mean, it's just, for me, with someone struggling with eyesight, the font size throughout FTM is not sufficient. You can kind of bypass that if you change your display size in Windows. It will change it for everything though, not just FTM, it will change it for everything. And then you run the risk of not being able to see everything on the screen that you need to see. Even your scroll bar may not even be there. So it's been suggested, begged of Makiev for several years now to give us an option for larger fonts in FTM throughout. So, but we're not there yet.
Right. Well, if they do it or consider it for the PC, hopefully they would also consider it for the Mac, because right now I don't think that option is.
I'm sure that they would. I'm sure they would, because Mac users and Windows users have been letting Makiev know for several years now.
Yes.
That we need more.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate the comment.
No. And the Mac in Makiev does stand for Macintosh.
Oh.
Because, well, I don't know how many of you know this, but when Ancestry owned Family Tree Maker, Makiev was the one that actually wrote the Mac version for them. So.
Oh, okay.
And then when Ancestry decided to say, okay, we don't want to deal with Family Tree Maker anymore, McKee just basically bought it, so they basically took over the Windows development of it, but they already were doing the Mac, so.
Okay, well, it's nice to know.
Yeah, so they're well versed in Macs, so.
Following this Mac discussion, I'm a Mac user.
Yeah.
Has anybody else tried to publish a book using Family Tree Maker on a Mac?
I have not.
I'm finding, about 3 years ago, I had some difficulties in my book, and I ended up not using I actually printed it out using Family Tree Maker, but I couldn't get the indexing and paging to work. And so I ended up basically photocopying my originals, but I was disappointed at the time, and they've been working on it for 3 years now to try and fix this problem I have. And still no solution, but I have found a workaround for my new book, which I'm just proofreading right now to get off to the printer. And that was not to use smart stories at all, or use a smart story, but a blank screen, and or capture an image of my story and put it into the smart story. Then it works. All the pages work properly. Because what was happening was that 3 lines would, even in the preview, would look like they belong on the page, all fit on the page nicely. When you did the book preview, 3 lines would go into the next page and leave a whole blank page. And so the index was accurate, but there's all these blank pages throughout my story. I couldn't get rid of those last 3 lines and put it back on the same page they belong on. And so they're working on a solution, but I don't know what it is. So my workaround was just to do a screenshot of the page and bring it in over as an image, and it's all beautiful this morning. I was wondering if anybody else has run into that problem, or am I the only Mac user that has that problem?
I have not tried to set up anything to publish, so I really don't know.
Okay, it works beautifully though now, dumping images. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice workaround. It's, I mean, yeah, it's like me, I generally just use the Family Book Creator, which is in the works for the Mac, but isn't available yet. So
that's been a long time that sort of we're working on type issue is on the Family Book Creator. I've heard that for a few years now.
So, well, yeah, Stefan has been extremely tight-lipped about even giving an estimate. The charting companion, the other plugin is in beta. So, so it is coming, but I know in a couple of weeks there'll be a Family Book Creator Q&A session that you can join, and you can ask Stefan. I haven't heard confirmation if Stefan will actually be there. This upcoming will be the 4th Q&A session, and he is able to make the first 2. The last one he wasn't able to because it was his father's birthday. So he had plans. So, I mean, you can ask him, but I wouldn't hold my breath waiting for an answer on it.
No, I don't want to put that kind of pressure on anyone. I know the problems involved. Thank you.
So, yeah. So, I had someone about how to use Task Manager in Family Tree Maker or third-party software to organize your work. I just maybe keep some. I don't really use the Task Manager myself. I keep like a few notes, but that's about it. Anything else for how I'm researching, I just keep an Excel spreadsheet that I add and delete. And
Yeah, I use Task Manager a lot for things I want to go back to and finish working on or take another look at or something like that. And for me, it works well.
yeah.
So,
I use Tasks and OneNote, which is that comes as part of the Microsoft Office, but there is one that's free that is extremely similar, and the name of it is escaping me at the moment.
Is that Evernote?
Evernote. Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Evernote. Yes.
Yeah,
And
I've heard of that.
it's
And there's even
awesome.
a Facebook group called like Evernote for genealogists or genealogy or
Yeah.
something to that effect.
Well, you can create charts and flow charts and tables and all kinds of stuff. I sometimes will create short stories in FTM, and then I can copy that into OneNote, so that if I want to keep that, but I don't necessarily want it in FTM, but I want to keep that data, that I just copy that over to OneNote. So it's, and Evernote's the same way. I mean, you can, in colors and all kinds of stuff. It's a great way to stay organized and easier than a spreadsheet. Although I still use a spreadsheet a little bit, for mostly for DNA related research. Just easier for that, but.
You are right, Nancy, that there are two. One is Evernote and one is OneNote, and they seem to be used quite a bit. It's just a matter of preference. I prefer the OneNote. I find it more user-friendly for me, the way my mind works. But both of them are great. They're free.
Yeah, OneNote is part of the Microsoft Office package, so which costs. The Evernote, completely free. I think that there are some things, some additional add-ons that do cost a little bit with Evernote, if I remember correctly. But works great. Works great. I highly recommend them.
Yes, you can download a OneNote by Microsoft, and it works on Mac also. And you don't have to have the what you have to pay for. It is free.
Oh, that's good to know. Good to know.
You have an option to upgrade, of course, but I have the basic, the free package, and it works great for me.
Well, good to know. Thank you.
Yep.
So are there any other questions anyone's got? Comments?
Does anybody want to go back to filtered lists? I know that's a huge, that's a big one. See that in the group a lot.
Maybe you could suggest, well, what are some of the, how people using the filter list might be useful to some, because you kind of know what you know, but I hadn't thought of maybe another way to use it. So I'd just be curious for people using one or two ideas of how you're using the filter.
One thing I use filtered lists for is great for when cleaning up my tree. Like one time I wanted to go through and make sure all the people with multiple spouses, the spouses were actually in order. And you can create a filter when it goes into, well, here, let me just share my screen here. Like I said, this one doesn't, won't have everything, but I go, new filter. Go under other, and then, well, this other, there's a lot of things here. So like if you want to clean up notes, you can just look for people with notes. So I did that when I was just looking for cleaning up notes and stuff. But here you can do here where spouse count, is greater than 1. Okay, and then save it. And then, okay, so now here, then you can go down to, okay, set spouse order, and then you can, move them up or down, however you need. So, and then I even went so much as, because This tree doesn't have, only has 11. You can get through this in no time. My main tree, I mean, there's like 900 people. There's no way you're getting through that in one setting. So what I did was I created a new like dummy fact, and I just called it like done. And description only. And then here on customize view, I would add the value done. And then I tweak this filter. So then I would filter out where basically if done exists, then it would remove it. So back on here, okay, I check, okay, Jacqueline analysis, okay, yep, John F. Kennedy, and then analysis was there. So here, since I just said if done exists, all I gotta do is type anything. Do that, then boom, Jacqueline analysis is removed from here. So, you know, and then just continue on. You know, this I have no idea if that's right or not. But then on any of these, then it's like I say, okay, if I know it's true, okay. Well, here are the dates. Okay, yep, that's true. So I can just do that, and then it's like here I know where I've left off. That 11, well, I took care of 2, and so that's one way you can use filtered lists.
I can show
I'll
mine.
also, pardon?
I can show my filters too if you'd like.
Sure. Here, I stopped sharing so you can do it. I'll also do it like under data manager. Say if I'm cleaning up a residence fact or something, I'll create like a residence temp, and then I'll move those. When I look at the residence facts, I can pick which ones I want to switch over to the residence temp, and then do something similar where I'll clean up those, and then I'll just switch them back to their standard residence fact, and or whichever fact you're working on.
So here's mine. These are ones that I use all the time. Let's see if I get this to share. Here we go. Okay, so you see here, can you see my screen up?
Yeah.
Did it go?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I don't know a death date, can't immediately find it, I use deceased in the date field. So when I go and if I decide that day, here, let me make this a little bit bigger. So that day I just decide I just want to work on finding death dates. So I just use this
Avgå
filter.
försiktigt.
I'm sorry.
Nej.
So then there's I don't use residence facts at all. So I have this filter since we've got 2017. I go back to this at the end of every research session and make sure that I have dealt with the residence fact and changed it to the appropriate fact. So here's my Civil War one that I mentioned already. I have one instead for needing sources, instead of using the report and going back and forth the report or printing a 20-page report, which I don't think mine are that long, but still, I just create a filter so that I can just go in here and look and see what sources I still need to find. I have another one here where I'm changing census to state census for the state census. I'm just leaving census for my federal censuses. And then I'm changing to state census. So I can just work on these so that I go in and check those. anyway, those are some examples, the ones I use all the time. I go in, like John was showing, that other tab. It's fantastic. And I use those as I encounter, questions or issues while I'm working on the tree. And I'm like, wait, what is that? Or that's not right. I need to figure out what's going on. So I will use filters to do that.
Okay.
Hey, Nancy, can you go back on your need sources one and show us what the guts
Oh,
is?
sure. Yeah.
Because that sounds super useful.
So let's go to one I know for sure. Okay, so here is Alice. And I don't have sources for her, but I do know from my notes that I got her name from
No, I meant the logic for how to identify which ones meet that criteria.
Oh, gotcha. Let's see, manage filters. Let's
You can just go up to
this
edit
one.
filter.
Oops. Yep, that's what I meant to do. Sorry. Okay, so this one, oh, I used source information does not exist.
For anything, like,
So that was the,
so for example, for your Alice thing, if she had had a source for her birth but not her death, she would show up in this list or not show up in this list?
she would show up in this list because I have a unsourced fact.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, if you
I did test this. I did test this against the report, and it did come out the same.
Oh, good. All right, I'm gonna try it because I do what you do with the going back and forth between that report, and it drives me bananas.
Oh, it's just there's just no way I can do that. I just get too overwhelmed. And John, you wanted me to.
Yeah, if you click on the pencil icon, then it should bring up the actual logic.
Right. Yeah. So again, this is that other category that John brought up. Source information does not exist.
That was worth the price of admission. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm telling you, these filters, man, they're awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, then that should just bring anyone that's got any fact that's unsourced. So
While you're talking about that
and
query editor screen, I think it's important to note that you can add multiple criteria in those filters, and that if you put them in backwards, you can move them around and experiment with it and change it to include or not include, and you can continue to edit that whole filter until you get it right. And that it comes with, correct me if I'm wrong, John, 2019 is when they expanded the query editor. I believe, but if you don't have it,
well, 2019 is when you can go back and actually edit the filter.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the one thing. Is like, I love the filters in 2017, but you'd always have to recreate them because they wouldn't auto update as.
I was just going to say that, like, for example, with that residence one that I showed you, every time that I miss changing a fact from residence to the fact I want to use, that will pop up in a residence into that filter. So then this is 2019 though, we can't do this 2017, but these filters, if I add a fact and I don't source it, it will show up in that sources filter. It will constantly update. If I find a death date for someone in my deceased filter, that person will be removed from that deceased filter. Again, this is 2019. 2017 won't do that, unfortunately. But in my opinion, it's worth getting 2019 just to be able to do that, to have it work that way. So your filters are constantly being updated rather than you having to periodically recreate the filter like you do in 2017.
Yeah, the
Love
improved
filters.
filters was worth getting just for that.
Yeah.
Does
My
anyone else have
totally
trouble
agree.
with the syncing? Occasionally when I sync with Ancestry, I wind up with duplicates in Family Tree Maker. Have I got a setting wrong or something?
Are you working in one or are you working in both?
I try to only work in one. I've learned not to do both and then try to sync. That's one thing, because I had
Yeah.
all kinds of issues with that one. And so in answer to your question, maybe it's been a while since I've done both, and maybe that was the problem, is I should only be working in one or the other and then sync and then go to the other one if that's what I want to do.
Yes.
Exactly.
Where are you seeing
Exactly.
duplicates?
Okay.
Yeah, Peggy, where are you seeing the duplicates? In the index of people?
Yes.
And are you merging records like census?
Most of the time I will merge the people, but sometimes I can see, because I added the birth and death years on the index, so I can see, and if there's nothing on one and something on the other one, then I delete one, the one that doesn't have any data by it.
Now you
I
should
don't always merge it.
Yeah.
merge people. And if you're merging records from Ancestry, you do have a choice to not merge information if you already have the person in the tree, or you merge it with someone already in your tree. And if the name's a little bit different on the indexed information, you could get duplicates that way.
Right. Right.
Also, when you do find duplicate people, don't delete one. Always merge the duplicate individuals.
Yes.
Because
Okay.
otherwise that can cause some problems. And you could lose valuable information.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is while I'm doing web merge is to press the F3 key, which brings up the index of people or the fact page for the individual you're working on. And you can determine whether you already have that fact or not.
Yes.
So the F3 key is real helpful.
Yeah.
We also have a little button in web merge. Let me show you that. Hang on here just a sec. And this is just like this. So I can go in, well, let me pick a different person that has a lot more information. Let me go up here. So I can see, okay, so we go in here and I can go in here after I do a search on mom. I can go in here before I add something. I can go click that little button and it will show me all my facts. The only thing you can't do, and this is also the same as F3, the only thing you can't do in this screen is change a fact label, but you can do any other thing in here, and you can see all your sources. You can go and look at your sources. So you can look at your media. So it's a F3 or that little icon, whichever works better for you. That way you're not accidentally duplicating your work. Fantastic.
Mhm.
Okay, let me get, there we go. I love web merge. It's great.
And the same thing would apply for sources, right? If you wind up with duplicate sources, you shouldn't just delete one, you should merge them. Or does that same principle apply to that?
I'll take it.
No, no.
Yeah, you can merge the source. If it's a duplicate source and it is linked to all the same stuff, I have a tendency just to go ahead and remove it. But if if the citations are different, then I merge them so that I make sure I get the citation and anything else I have linked. If I have an extra media item linked to that citation, I just, I have like one media item linked to one and a separate media item linked to two, then I can combine them and you can merge them all together so you don't lose any data. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add on that.
Yeah, that's on the edit menu under manage sources. And the actual function is called replace. You replace one source with another source and it moves all the citations from one to the other. So it's manage sources.
Well, are there any other questions?
Any question at all? Okay, related to FTM.
Well, if not, we'll wrap it up and then hopefully this can become a semi-regular occurrence. So
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
and then this will be posted up on YouTube. It'll probably take an hour or so. And then, the link will be posted in the FTM user group. So
Thank you very much for what you did.
And thank everyone for coming.
yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks.